between the matters we might be speaking about tonight. In a moment, we're going to hear from Gurridyula, a very important figure, I think, in the liberation struggles across the world currently. Gurridyula is a man who is occupying his country. Tonight's discussions are about sovereignty and bloodlines. Gurridyula is an example of a person exercising their sovereignty. So if you've sat in your lounge rooms, at your coffee tables, at your dinner tables, at your work events, and discussed with your friends and colleagues and wondered what sovereignty is, I'm hoping that this evening you might get some insights into what sovereignty is. And so without further ado, as I say, Roscoe Lee Browne, me, from Radio Rada, I'd like to introduce you to, as I say, a very interesting and important figure, Gurridyula, from Wiradjuri, recently celebrated 4-year occupation. I'd ask you to put your hands together for Gurridyula.
Waramuli, ngajo nari kuri Gurridyula ngaya Wiradjuri, ngajo yambanani Waranangu Wangan and Jagalingou yambanani. Waramuli, my name is Gurri or Gurridyula. I speak Riddy language. I'm from central Queensland at a place called Wiradjuri. It's inside the nation group of the Wangan and Jagalingou people. And my family have been fighting against a mining company for about probably 12 years now. And it's a mining company, some might have heard of it. It's called the Adani Carmichael coal mine. And so, yeah, boo. And... And so, they approached our people in 2012. We said, no, sorry, we don't want that shonky deal. And we're going to tell you to rack off, basically. And so they came again in 2014, and our people said no again. And so the Queensland government, along with the federal government, gave them compulsory acquisition. So they stole it off us and gave it to the mining company. And so my father went through 5 federal court cases to try and stop the process from happening. He ended up getting bankrupted for around $675,000. And so lucky he didn't own a house or a car or anything like that, so they couldn't take anything from him. They just took him out of being able to keep applying to the courts. And so in 2018, we came back to our country and planted the flag, which is this one here. And it was exactly 100 years later after my grandfather got taken at 7 years old at gunpoint by the mounted police, along with my great-grandfather, and sent to Cherbourg. And Cherbourg's basically like a POW camp, like a mission that that Aboriginal missions are set up all over the country, basically the same. And so he was in that place for 40 years, and he grew up in that place, and didn't leave that place till he was like 47 years old. How do you spend your whole life in a place that the only reason why he was there was because he was on the wrong skin color? So he got out and went to Brisbane. My dad was born, and then I was born, and then 100 years later we come back home, planted the flag in the ground, and then the next year later, I came back and took an area and built a big border circle, and it was right in their way of their machinery laydown area. And I had a standoff with the police and said, I'm not going to move. And they didn't know what to do. And so this is, I had a 2-week standoff with them. They didn't know what to do. The mining company ended up starving me out of food and water. And then I came back a year later then and blocked the road and built a fire in the middle of the road and blocked the public road for 5 days. And the police came and sat down with me, the negotiators, and they said to me, what do you want? And I said, I want all my national parks, state forests, and unallocated state land given back to my people so we can look after them. And then I want the government to buy back all the pastoral leases that they've stolen off our people and give them back to us if the farmers are not looking after them. I said, I don't want any money, I just want what's mine. And they knew at that point in time it was a request that they could never fill. So they brought in 50 police officers the next day. And they removed us from the road, and we had a camp just off into the pastoral lease. And the police came in. They said, if you don't leave, we're going to arrest you, yada, yada, yada. And in Queensland, we have a Human Rights Act, just like here in Victoria. And so my father went back to Brisbane, put in a human rights complaint, and then I went back in and lived in the bush for 4 months in the middle of the bush just to prove a point. And 6 months passed, and the Human Rights Commission came back and said that you have a case against the Queensland Police. So we had a mediation between the Queensland Police and with the Human Rights Commission. And the Human Rights Commission said that they limited 5 of our human rights, and we potentially have the case to go to court. So the police were like, well, what do you want to do about this? And we said, well, we just want a letter of apology. So we got a notice of regret, which is half-assed anyway, but it was the content that was in it that we wanted. And inside of it, it said, we acknowledge that Adrian Gaba, which is my old man, represents a group of Wangan and Jagalingou people aggrieved by Adani's occupation of their tribal homelands. So we've got that piece of paper, and they wrote it themselves. So we then went, well, they just spoke us into being. And I took that piece of paper then and pushed my luck and went, well, what could I do with this? And I created an event called Tour de Carmichael, and it's basically a 100-kilometre bike ride along a dirt road that Adani uses for all their trucks. So we basically just held up the whole road for 100 kilometres, 70-year-olds riding along and push bikes and stuff, and just doing it because we can, you know. And then that was on, and then on the 26th of August, then we set up at the place now called Wiradjuri. We got a fire going there that on the 26th of August 2021 we rocked up. I lit a fire. We built a stone circle around it, and me and my family made 3 rules. One, that the fire, the Yarbamburi sacred fire, always has to be lit. Number 2, there's no Miglu foreign objects inside the circle, so you can't have shoes, you can't have a roof with tin, or you can't have anything inside the circle. And I was doing that to bait the police in because I knew the police wouldn't take their shoes off. So I was baiting them in. And this is after the notice of regret that they'd already given. So I'd already put them into a position where it's like, well, I'm trying to set yous up again. And they didn't want to play the game. They didn't come up. They still haven't come up to the circle yet. And so even after 4 years. So the third rule, after the no foreign objects inside the circle, was that there's always had to be one Wangan and Jagalingou person inside this stone circle on top of this berm wall. And so for 408 days, me and my family sat inside this circle, rain, hail and shine, to prove pure occupation. That we said, well, the Human Rights Act allows us and affords us the right to practice ceremony, and our ceremony is, well, we're going to have one person occupy this at all times. I thought it was a game, and I thought they were just going to kick us out in like in a week or something like that, and then no one came, and I was just like, well, I guess we have to keep going. So 408 days later, I'm thinking, well, it's a good feat. But we still have the fire going as well, so we still got the 2 rules of no foreign objects inside the circle, but we took away the one person inside the circle. And the reason why we've got a continuous fire is because a fire is a symbol, and it's a symbol of occupation. Every human across the whole world can spot a fire and know that somebody is living there. Somebody is there because nature doesn't do it by itself. So you automatically know that someone's there. It's psychological warfare that I'm playing on the workers, because every time they drive past, they see a fire going. Doesn't matter if it's raining, doesn't matter. It's always going. Just to show them that we might not have the resources and we might not have the manpower to overrun them, but I'll just sit there and I'll wait this out. And I'll drag my heels. And so the police basically wiped their hands. The police minister said that if they want to remove us, then they have to take us to the land court. But the problem is, by taking us to the land court has already made a decision to say that you can't limit human rights for economic benefit. So they're going to lose if they take me to court. So it's a lose-lose situation for them. So at this point in time, we just finished our 4-year event. I've been living 4 years on a coal mine site. It's pretty dusty, to say the least. It's loud. It's always just trucks are always going 24 hours a day. But I know being there, I'm in the way of production because I didn't go for the short-term easy way out and try and go, oh, well, I'll try and stop it right now. Because that wouldn't have worked. I would have got hauled away. So I decided to try and play the protracted warfare and stretch it out to where it is now, that now we've got babies that have been born while we were here, while we were set up. So then we get our babies' placentas and we put them into the tree on the sunrise. So the sunrise comes up behind the tree, that you're facing the sunrise, and you cut the tree because the sun moves across the sky like this. And then when you got the tree there, you can see what time of year it is just by where the scar on the tree is facing. So then you have your calendar of the year as well. So then we've created these things that our culture is no longer heritage. It's not in the past. It's still in the same forest as all the other birthing trees that are there. They're just 150 years older. So now we've just reintroduced this placentas back into the surroundings, and then the tree eats that placenta, takes that child's DNA, puts it down, goes down into the roots, and then what happens is we do a burn off. That burn creates truffles on the mycelium around the roots, and then the little kangaroo rat, the Rufus betong, they're extinct down here now, but we got the same Rufus betongers up there, and they were eating the truffles off the roots systems, and then they would spread that child's DNA out all around the place. So now that we have those things, we're no longer in the past. We're a current thing, and it's going into the future. So Human Rights Act in Queensland has never been used by anybody else in the same way as we've used it, and it's not so much a thing that has teeth, it just has a thing that muzzles them and muzzles the police and muzzles the government from limiting my rights. So it's basically just been a whole 4 years of just defending the government, all levels of governments off. And what it does, though, it shows the rest of the country and also the rest of the world that it's not over, and we don't have to give up everything for this beast. We don't have to say that everything's all lost because right in this present time that we don't see any sort of progress. And I think about that sometimes, and I think about, like, imagine being, just say for instance, you're a kid in Serbia when you're occupied by the Ottoman Empires 200 years after you've been occupied. They were occupied for like 400 or 500 years. So when you're 200 years into it, you're probably thinking to yourself, when this will never end. But then not realizing that only another 200 years later, you're going to be liberated, but you have no idea that you're going to be liberated. But in that point in time, you feel like everything's all gone and lost, and I have no idea how to weather the storm. And so um, I see Aboriginal people all across the country, and all I'm just hoping for is them to just weather the storm. This is like an ice age that's happened right now across this continent, and they're just trying to survive it. And assimilating into life is not surviving it. That is just you're burning a library to the ground. Because society like this tells you that you don't need to know all that knowledge, that you don't need to pass all that stuff on to the next generation, because your teachers at your school will teach them everything they need to know. So these are the things that it's about connection to the stories of our surroundings, and people, when the police come up and they first said to me, why is um, the corroboree ground that I built sacred? Why is that sacred? And I said, well, my people built that circle. What's the difference between them building it now and building it 2,000 years ago? They said nothing, and I said, exactly. That's why it's sacred, because my people built it in a collective. And so ever since then, I had 40 family members come through that and hold that circle down with me for 408 days to have a family clan group input, just to show them that it's possible. And, trying to fight a mining company is a really hard type of situation to be in, because they always have the upper hand. They've got the resources and they have the police on their side. So it's been a long journey along the way, but I feel like the more and more that I keep pushing through this, the easier it becomes for everybody else coming behind, because I've already cut through the jungle to find a path. And for instance, I helped a group couple of two tribes over called the Gungaloo mob, and I helped them set up a camp, same type of setup on a mining lease and everything. And they were going for like 2 months. I think they're still going, but the police haven't done anything about them, because I'm like the adjudicator now for those tribes, and I just go there, rock up, and like, yep, they've got a ceremony going on here, and because I put it onto my social media and everything and get it out there, the police know what the situation is now, and so we're creating things that, inevitably it's to save country, because there is no culture without country. You can't have a culture without country. It's just all of this other stuff that the government's trying to tell you what our culture is. That's what the culture, they're telling you what our culture is. Because they won't tell you that our culture is in the country, because they've already destroyed 70 to 80% of it already. And so it's almost like, even still, it's vindictive, and they're still trying to destroy everything, and turn this place into a barren wasteland. And whether that's on purpose or not, that remains to be debated. But all I can do is just try and protect an ancient spring that's been running. Scientists say it's been running for over 1,000,000 years easy. That the soaks that they can now measure how old water is through radioisotopes, and then reading those radioisotopes on the decay levels and how long it's been since they basically touched the surface of the sun. So touched the surface. Sorry. So now they can get an age on water, which wasn't really known before. So it helps us to fight for the springs more, and it also helps with other mobs. But the main point is just persistency and consistency. I didn't go off into other campaigns and other tangents and stuff like that and try and save the world on everything else. I just focus down on one thing and just keep following it through. And, everything is about creating and building and keep creating and building, because if I'm not creating something, then I'm living someone else's creation. So I have to keep creating to be able to live my creation. And so, when I got down here, I brought coals from Wiradjuri and put them into the fire down at Camp Sovereignty to connect our fires up, and there's something sacred in that, because that fire's been going for a long time, and the fire up there's been going for 4 years. So that kinship tie, it creates a kinship tie, and that so happens to fall under the Human Rights Act. So that means that even our mob now have a right to put in a human rights complaint against the Victorian government if they try to remove them from their camp now, because of that disrupted kinship tie now. So it's about learning the system and learning how to fight them with their own, I don't know if it's stupidity or whether it's just they leave themselves open with gaps. And so it's just about trying to find those gaps and doing it with the knowledge of I'm fighting against someone that's trying to destroy something. I treat them like 2-year-olds. 2-year-olds just smashing stuff everywhere. And then you just got to walk up and take the thing from them and just say, you can't have that right now because you don't understand how it works. It's the same process. So that's how I treat them. And because they're not thinking about tomorrow, they're not thinking about consequences that, as custodians, my family are the custodian of Dumbabulla Springs. It's always been there. It's always has to be there. And it's our responsibility because it's just who we are. It's just what we do. And we don't expect other people. We don't expect the government to be the custodians of that place and look after that place. We're the ones that are putting our hand up to say we're the ones that are doing it. So it's just to encourage and inspire other people to be able to stand up and, savor something. Looking around at Camp Sovereignty down there, and I'm thinking to myself, they want to try and move them on, and I'm looking around and I'm seeing all these buildings and everything, and I've just come out of the bush, and I'm looking at everything, and I'm just like, they've taken everything from these people. They've cut down every tree of theirs. They stole their children. They stole their language. They stole everything from them. And now they just, whatever's left, that tiny little piece of land that's left, and they want to take that from them too. How much of a psychotic people is this country that they just want to dispossess Aboriginal people of everything? Like, how cruel do they want to get? Like, obviously the British have been the most cruelest people who have ever walked this earth. Without a doubt, they take the cake. And so the descendants of those people then have created this mentality that Aboriginal people deserve nothing. And it's just like, unless someone's lived in an occupied country before, they don't understand what it is living in an occupied country. You can be as sympathetic as you can, but unless you're the occupied, living in an occupied country, it's really hard to grasp that understanding. If you're a Palestinian that's living in Israel, you 100% understand what it is. If you're descendants of listening to your grandfather from Northern Ireland talking about the British occupying your area, then you understand what I'm talking about. But everybody else that's in that picture drifts along. and they don't understand it to the grasp, but to the reality of the fact. New Caledonia with the French there, with them being occupied, they have the same. It's that same thing that's inside of them. That every time you look at a flag of the occupier, oh, that's right, I'm occupied. Oh, that's right, they conquered us. Well, that's what they want us to think. And I guess, like, you see all these marches that are happening recently with all these people, and it's not even something new. It's literally the product of this country and how it was designed. It's just the chickens have come home to roost, and people don't like it because it's the ugly truth of this country. And it's just showing its truth. Those boys are the truth of this country. They're just the ones with the balls to do it. Majority of everybody else in this country is like, oh, I'll agree to a little bit of what they're saying. And it's just like, how do you avoid a situation like that now where we're surrounded by people that don't want us to survive, but there's no mechanisms in place to protect Aboriginal people. There's no mechanisms to, they bend over backwards for anti-Semitism laws and everything, but what about anti-Indigenous laws? Where's our rights to go, well, at least we have the right to feel safe? How many Aboriginal people go missing every year, but no investigation happens with that? Are they just doing annual killings of Aboriginal people and just getting away with it because the police just cold case, don't investigate it? Because what if they're their friends that are actually doing all of those things? It's these, everything is all designed to strip us of everything. They say there's 1 million Aboriginal people. I don't think so. I reckon there's probably like 700,000 at most. And then out of that, you think about it, there's probably only 300,000 Aboriginal men left, and how many of them in prison? 1/3 of the prisons are made up of Aboriginal men. So then you're just like, how many is there then? We're like an endangered species that people are trying to keep assimilating us to say, you have to be us, you have to be us. No, we don't have to be like you. We can be who we want to be. We can create our own reality because we didn't ask for this. We didn't ask for this reality. It's who we want to be and how we want to do it and who we decide to be in a part of our community. And as Aboriginal people, we've always been accepting of everybody. Can come in. It's just they took our kindness for weakness and stole all our food. But yeah, my name's Gurridyula. I'm from Central Queensland. I like fighting for country because it gives me a purpose. I had this almost like this near-death experience by just watching myself die. And it was peaceful and I allowed myself to die. But then I heard this voice saying that you can't die, country needs you. And at that point in time I realized, and I just went, there's so few of us left that are fighting for country. That such a handful of people that country needs more people to fight for us. So I was like, well, I've found my purpose, and that's what I've been doing ever since. I've just been fighting for the protection of country because it's something worth fighting for. It's a noble cause. It's something that is higher than yourself. It's higher than your own family. It's I don't even do it for my own family up there. I do it for the old big box trees that are there and the little Bidamore kangaroo rats that are there. I do them for the animals that are there. I don't do it for family because family can let you down. But the little digger Willy Wagtail that comes and does a dance on my little tarp roof every day, every morning, it's something that I appreciate, and something that I take and gives me strength to, I enjoy my life. I live on paradise and you're more than welcome to come. And it shows that everybody is welcome. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, and we're not exclusive. So fighting comes in all different types of ways, whether that comes in we are the people of this whole world that is going to teach the whole world that we are not going to be the abusers. We were the abused, but we are not going to become the abusers. Everybody that has been the abusers were abused at one point in time. Whether that's Spain by the Moors or whether that's England by Rome, all of these people have been abused, and then the countries have been abused, and then they become the abusers. Where Aboriginal people are going to go, we're not going to be the abusers, and we don't want revenge. Because that's what many of these people out here believe is we want revenge. And it's just like, I don't want revenge. I don't even want their dirty old house. I want a clean river. I want big trees. I want habitat trees with holes in them so then the possums can live in there. And you can't have those things if you don't have nature. So that's what I'm fighting for. That's what is more important than any house. So, yeah, appreciate you bringing us down here.
Yeah. Ah, look at that. Thank you very much, Gurridyula. Thank you for opening our evening, our Talkin Country evening, this evening in such a powerful way. Gurridyula hit on, I guess, the two things that this is kind of about. For those who don't know, rata is an Anawan word for smoke. So in that kind of media project, in that Radio Rata project, the point is we're trying to be like smoke. We're trying to decentralise the news. We're trying to decentralise information. And if you've been following us, you'll notice that the Meta has cut us off twice in the last month. We're down again now. I'm glad. What I'm hoping is that each and every one of you will decide to become the broadcaster of Radio Rata. I'm hoping that each and every one of you will take the opportunity after tonight to realise that the people that you're going to hear from and meet this evening are the people that are standing on country. These are the people that are the rescue, the actual rescue. Once the walls come down, once they turn the power off, once the bailiff comes and turns you out of your freehold, once they reclaim what they consider to be theirs, the only people left with country are countrymen and countrywomen. And this is true all across what I'm calling the Ocean Kingdoms, all across those autochthonous communities, those customary owners under colony. It's the same no matter where you go. And so the other point there, I guess, is the idea of occupation. Again, people often ask what sovereignty means. And Gurridyula is exhibiting one version of it. And on the line this evening we have Paul Towney, a Wiradjuri man who was arrested for trespass while occupying a piece of land in Orange. Now, Mr. Towney, as I say, is a Wiradjuri man. He's discovered something really interesting in your local library. He went back and had a look at the property records in the colony for when martial law was declared on the Wiradjuri in the 1820s. The governor was a guy called Governor Brisbane. Now, Governor Brisbane, and the interesting connection with Governor Brisbane to Jamaica as well. Governor Brisbane, the third governor of this colony, he was charged with the king, or by the king, to grant land. And he was allowed to grant up to 200 acres. Governor Brisbane, being the corrupt politician and manager that he is, granted land grants of 2,000 acres. And so what Paul Towney is asserting is that all of the freehold property that we now understand in what was New South Wales, Queensland and Victoria was illegally granted. And so his point is that he's going to turn up to court on September the 9th, painted up, and he's going to stand in the court and he's not going to speak because they charged him with trespass. So now the Crown has to prove that he trespassed. And so they have to prove who owns the land. So, yeah. And so I'm not sure, have we got Paul on the line? Are we able to... Are you there, Paul?
Roscoe, can you hear me?
I can, Paul Towney. Absolutely, I can. You've got a room full of rapt people here, Paul, who are very eager to hear about your work and what you're trying to achieve. I'll just let them know that Paul's coming to us from Orange. As I say, there's a court case on September the 9th, on Tuesday coming. There's a bunch of people at a camp, an Allies camp at Orange, to help prepare Paul to prepare for that event. And he joins us on the line tonight. Good evening, Paul.
Yeah, good evening, Roscoe and fellow sovereignty.
You've got
members there?
you got Gurridyula here from Wiradjuri. You got Robbie Thorpe from Camp Sovereignty, Lucho from the LASNET organisation. Desmond Blurton from Boorloo is in the room as well. I wonder if you might just tell us, what's the point of you occupying that piece of land in Orange? What are you trying to show?
Yeah, hello, Yama. I'm Paul Towney. I say I'm a nobody. I'm just grassroots Wiradjuri descendant, but I'm a proud Wiradjuri descendant of the, Wiradjuri nation of Western Southern New South Wales. And to give the audience an idea of the size of Wiradjuri nation as defined by the colonial maps of the the tribes or the nations of Australia, Wiradjuri nation is maybe the biggest, or amongst area-wise, one of the biggest land nations of Australia. And as I say, that's mainly once you pass over the Blue Mountains from Sydney, you're coming onto Wiradjuri lands, southern. We go right out to people might be a bit familiar with Gaba, out to the west, Dubbo to the north, just up top of Dubbo is our northern boundary. And then we go all the way down to the mighty Murray River in the south. So that's, and then, the Great Dividing Range is our boundary on the eastern border. So, and, that's defined by, colonial maps of Australia. So, I'm, as I say, I'm just grassroots. I'm a nobody. To give you a bit of history of how I come about to go back to my sovereignty and Wiradjuri nation sovereignty is basically I knew that last year, coming up as 2024, 200 years to that date last year, Wiradjuri, Wiradjuri's greatest acknowledged documented war hero. He and over 200 Wiradjuri, including my women, my children, my elders, they all turned up down in Sydney, unannounced, without warning, and they confronted, as Roscoe said, the Governor Brisbane, on the front lawns of the old governor's house. It's still standing today. So that was over 400 kilometres. And I had to do the walk. I knew someone from Wiradjuri had to do it. I put out the call, I put on Facebook, especially to my, Wiradjuri mob back home, nation mob. And I said, hey, it's 200 years when all our Wiradjuri ancestors walked down and confronted the governor of Brisbane. And that was in December 1824. So the reason why Wiradjuri led all the Wiradjuri down there was that, as Roscoe said, Governor Brisbane declared in August of 1824 war, and martial law was declared on the Wiradjuri nation. It was put in writing. So I knew it was 200 years coming up last year, and I put it out on Facebook, and basically I did the walk alone with one of my best mates that I grew up with back in Orange, Central West, New South Wales. And I've got to tell you guys, I went to Wiradjuri's gravesite, Roscoe knows, to get his acknowledgement. I had to do the proper Wiradjuri protocols and seeking the ancestors' permission to do even the walk. So my walk started from Wiradjuri's grave. He's buried traditionally by Wiradjuri. I don't know if there's other, war heroes, of nations that have been buried and are still, we can go there and we can pay our respects. We can seek his, his spirit and in what we're doing today. So I had to do that. I'd done the walk, and then pretty much after the walk, I had one of the media outlets from Sydney. I forgot to mention, guys, sorry. When I turned up down at the old governor's house, it's still standing, guys, there in Sydney, in Parramatta Park. It's still standing there today. When I walked on there, I didn't know the Darug, the Bidjigal, the Dharawal nations of Sydney were waiting for me. They must have been, I've been putting out every day on Facebook, just by my mobile phone, my trekking from 400 kilometres from Wiradjuri's grave, and I just give people a daily update of where I am, and just letting them know. And I was following the old trails. I never followed roads. I followed the old ancient trails that were the trade trails of between, Sydney, the eastern nations in Sydney, the Ngunnawal mob living on the mountains, and, connection to Wiradjuri. Me and my mate just followed trails, and it was so beautiful. And all the way, every night we'd camp, and it took me a week to walk all that way to get to Parramatta, the old governor's. But every night was so beautiful. I think my Wiradjuri ancestors, the Ngunnawal ancestors, I had to sing out, get permission from them to enter the lands. I come down into Penrith, Parramatta, but I was putting it all on Facebook. And when I arrived at Parramatta, to my shock, the Darug, the Bidjigal, Dharawal nations, they were there. They welcomed me. And I think that's what would have happened 200 years ago. That's protocol. That's between nations. And they smoked me. And to let you guys know, it still makes me shake today. They painted on the trees just outside the old governor's house. Again, Wiradjuri coming onto the Sydney nation's lands, nation lands, and they were welcoming me just the same as what would have happened 200 years ago. I felt it. And that just instilled in me, I've got to go the next step with sovereignty for Wiradjuri. I have to say, guys, I can only do this as a grassroots Wiradjuri person. To get permission, yes, I went to Wiradjuri. I asked my mum. My mum's still with me. I asked all my, my aunties and my uncles that are still, there's not many of them, but they all said, you go and do this. They even said to me, this is right, you do it. So that's my permission, and that's, that's going back to Wiradjuri Nation Culture Protocol Law, LORE. I have to state, guys, as Roscoe did state there, I found, with the help from national media, especially the Indigenous media outlets and their lawyers, I found out about the federal court judgment from last year, only in 2024. The same Governor of Brisbane who declared war and martial law on Wiradjuri Nation in August 1824. We got to remember, back in those days, there's no states and territories. There's only a colony, the Australian colony. And after the invasion of the colonists across Sydney and all the nations, they finally come across the Blue Mountains and on to Wiradjuri Nation lands. We are the documented, by them, the second nation to be invaded from 1813 onwards. So I'm gathering all the Crown LAW land sovereignty documents about Wiradjuri and about our fighting. And I can say today, I'm so proud of our Wiradjuri, and he was such a clever man. He made sure, even though they say today, to beat Crown law, LAW, you have got to show documentation and, under their LAW and their sovereignty law and their Crown law. I've got it all. Wiradjuri, by having war and martial law declared on Wiradjuri Nation, it's there. And I've got the documents that show he and Governor Brisbane knew what law he was following. It wasn't Crown LAW, it was Wiradjuri Nation Sovereignty, LORE. And he got that documented. And I only just worked all this out last year, guys. And that just gave me more strength and more, strength to do this, to go back to Wiradjuri Nation Land Sovereignty Law, LORE. As Roscoe just said not long ago, when I go to court, I've worked out all these illegal land grants. I've got over 200,000 illegal lands just on my Wiradjuri Nation sovereignty lands that federal court found only last year are illegal today, and that Wiradjuri Nation sovereignty, as well as all the other nation sovereignty, has never been ceded, has never been extinguished. That's what federal court found last year. I went, because of finding that evidence, I thought to myself, I love Uncle Mabo, I love Unipingu and all our other mobs, and all you mob there now fighting, sitting there. Love, I got so much respect, Uncle Rob, and I'm so sorry what happened on the weekend. And please accept my apologies and Wiradjuri Nation sovereignty, Uncle. But we're ready. We're ready to stand beside you. I just want to let you know. But getting back to my court case, it's next week on Tuesday, the 9th of September, starts at the local court because I knew there was 2,000 acres of illegal land grant given out by Government of Brisbane back in 1824. I've got the illegal land grant, so I went and occupied the lands. They are held by Charles Sturt University, Crown lands, today. I kept it to myself, basically, apart from immediate family, Wiradjuri, and I went and occupied those lands this year in February. I just basically, all I did was cut their chain because it was still vacant lands, guys. It's got about 5 farm properties on it, 2,000 acres, and I cut their chain and I went on and I occupied. I put up my sign myself. I had Wiradjuri there, grassroots, wanting to come on and wanting to assist me to again lock the gates and put up the sign and everything. But I said, guys, I don't want to put you at risk because the only way they're going to remove me, I told my mob, was they have to arrest me. And they have to arrest me for trespassing, as Roscoe said. That's what I wanted. That was my strategy. I didn't want to go through what Uncle Mabo and Unipingu went through. They never even got to see light of day of the outcome where they won. I've got the precedent court case, federal, about these illegal land grants. That's why I had to get arrested, so that now, as Roscoe said, it's on them. It's on the Crown. It's on the university to say and to show the evidence of my illegal occupation and trespassing. And the property, I've got the name of the convict. It's 2,000 acres. It's signed off by Governor of Brisbane. But, guys, it's all out there in freedom of information. I have got all the illegal land grants given out also on all the Sydney, Darug, Bidjigal, Durrell nation lands, over 200 acres. It's massive. It's massive. It even goes up the North Coast. We're talking a wobby called Talkin Country, Central Coast, where I live, right up to Brisbane. And I suppose that's why Brisbane got its name, after Governor of Brisbane. And he was giving out all the legal land grants all the way up to Brisbane. So I've got all those illegal land grants. Guys, it's no secret. And then I've got them going right down the south coast, Yuin. Everything over 200 acres. I've got the names of the convicts given, the mates of Governor Brisbane, given these illegal land grants over 200 acres. And yes, I only occupied 2,000 back on my Wiradjuri lands, but I'm talking 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 to one convict or colonist, squatter. And I've got them. I've got all the original land grants. I need to work with you guys as much as possible. And I'm all about my Wiradjuri nation, sovereignty, grassroots, clan, families. Guys, that's who will govern with me. That's Wiradjuri. I can't speak as other nations, that's what it's going back to. That was what was in place 60,000 years before 1813, before they come over the Blue Mountains and invaded our lands. So if that gives you an idea, it's basically Wiradjuri grassroots, clan, families, local, that are the economic benefactors once we, win court. I'm starting next Tuesday, but pretty much I've already been told by the police prosecutors and so on they can't deal with this. It's got to go straight onto the precedent court case, at the federal level. That's where all the illegal land grants were found. And, you know, the police are saying, no, we can't charge you, Paul. We didn't, you know, trespassing, we can't charge you. Going back to the illegal land grants, all right, because they were found, you know, Wiradjuri Nation sovereignty never ceded, never extinguished. Wiradjuri never signed nothing, and no Wiradjuri elder has signed since for the past 230 years. So it's simple. I'll sit there. I'll be traditional Wiradjuri dress, guys, sitting on the floor. That's going back to our law and our elders. And that law and the yarning circle of Wiradjuri, that was, if you would attend the meetings, you know, that's in the circle, and to sit down and discussion amongst the elders. So that's basically all I'll be doing. I'll be sitting. I'll let the magistrate and the police and whatever witnesses they call from the university, the Aboriginal land councils in Orange, and I've got to let you know, guys, the Orange Aboriginal Land Council, the CEO of the Orange Land Council, Orange Police rang her for advice on this Wiradjuri elder who's just locked himself on the property and what they should do with him, me. And the CEO of the Orange Aboriginal Land Council basically said, lock him up, remove him from you know, the Crown lands, university Crown lands. And I'm so disgusted. But in a way I'm not, because land councils are funded, they're aligned, their allegiances are to sovereignty crown, colonial crown, foreign. So it's never been to Wiradjuri Nation sovereignty. I can let you guys know now, when we get to the federal court as soon as possible, I'm hoping before the end of the year, guys. And once I win back all the illegal grants, right from the top, northern, out west, east border, down to the beautiful Murray. I've got over 200,000 acres already. It's well over that, the illegal land grants. I'm taking back all of it. I am kicking off Crown. Full stop, guys. They have no more jurisdiction. Law, LAW, you know, they have no political interference, again, ever, with Wiradjuri Nation sovereignty. We go back to prior 1813 when they invaded Wiradjuri Nation lands, the colonists. We're going back to 1813. We govern, elders govern, local sovereignty, clan, families govern. That's the way it was for 60,000 years, as documented by the colonists. So that's what I'm and my Wiradjuri sovereignty going back to. If that kind of makes sense, guys.
Thank you very much for that, Paul. It does make sense. So I'm hoping you're starting to feel the thread here and see the thread here. It's about occupation, which gives us the opportunity to throw to Uncle Robbie Thorpe. Camp sovereignty is another kind of occupation. It's another kind of assertion of sovereignty. And we all know that camp sovereignty's been in the news in the last few days because people who would assert their ownership, their rights over the lands of the various nations on this continent decided to make a statement, I guess, about their version of the world. There's some people in the room that were at Camp Sovereignty on Sunday and suffered the brunt of those attacks. We will speak to those people in a little bit. But I'd like to give Uncle Robbie this opportunity to bring us up to date. I guess this first half of the show this evening is about a kind of update. It's a kind of news update idea. You know, what's happening in the various things that we've been interested in, Radio Rada-wise, over this past year. We'll hear some stuff about Kanaky coming up. And so, yeah, I'd just like to give Uncle Rob an opportunity to let us know, kind of what's happening at Camp Sovereignty. And so, without further ado, Uncle Robbie Thorpe.
Thanks, Roscoe. Hi, everyone. Good evening. I firstly want to say thank you to Gurridyula, my brother. And Paul, and Roscoe, and Des, Claude, Carol, Lucho. That's the same stories I've got here, talking about an illegal occupation in Australia. There's no doubt about that, is there? It was a preemptive strike with weapons of mass destruction that came with that intentional genocide. I think that that's becoming more and more clear. That's the way that non-Aboriginal people came to this country. In fact, put your hand up if you're from this country, for a start. You got blood connection to this country. Put your hand up if you're connected to any part of the Southern Hemisphere. Yeah. So I want to get an idea of who I'm talking to, because this is clearly an illegal occupation. You know, it's basically a criminal occupation, an illegal one, and we're taking steps to take it back. I grew up with the idea that we're talking about land rights. That idea has been lost. It seems that's what we're talking about. That's what I grew up talking about, land rights, and that's not just talking about the rights of our people on this land. We're talking about the right of the land itself. And it's beyond sort of the comprehension of greed-driven colonisers and who've come to occupy our land and rape and pillage and plunder it for the last 250 years. Totally unsustainable society we got here. And to get that, they attempted to exterminate our people. You know, people don't really realise what the gravity of crime scene in Australia really is. You know, the magnitude, the dimension of this crime here. You know, on the back of the War of Independence in America, Britain lost that wealth. At the time of the French Revolution, it was pretty full-on time. And it was superpowers, I suppose you can call them, Britain, France, Spain, fighting over who was going to control the globe, superpower contention. And it's, what's left in its wake, is like we went through a Holocaust. There's no doubt that our people suffered a Holocaust. So let's start talking in those sort of terms. It's a total crime scene as far as I'm concerned. Every aspect of it. It's an illegal occupation, all of the land. Every bit of it. We want it back. We want it restored how you found it. Otherwise, you've got to restitute us for that damage. It's like if I come into your house and done all that damage, invaded your home, and what would you expect to happen? You know, there's no civilization here. Even though there's no Christianity, still wait to see all that stuff. You know, it doesn't exist. And yet that was the basis of occupying our land. They're going to civilise Aboriginal people and Christianise us. Yeah, good go. You know, for us it was like the zombie apocalypse. Who came on a 1770 shore, which was my country, the Crowatungalong of East Gips, what they call East Gippsland, part of the Gunai-Kurnai people, on the 14th of April, 1770, firing their cannons at us. A guy called Lieutenant Cook. This is echoey for me. Is that a problem?
It's not a problem from our end.
Maybe try this one. It's not super long.
Hello.
Can we turn up number 4, I think?
Bouncing on me. That's better, I think, yeah. Anyway. And we've got a story about a guy called Bunjileenee, who was out hunting on the 14th of April, 1770. And his totem, which is, I want to talk about totem law too, which is a far superior law than this garbage that we've got here today. You know, people don't realise that. Anyway, he was out hunting seals on the 90 Mile beach, and then his totem pelican flew over the top of him, Boorloo the pelican, and he followed it out, and he said, "What's that? Is that the skull and crossbones?" He said, "No, that's the Union Jack." And that was beginning. And they tried to get on the land there, but we repelled the first part of our customary laws took place there, right there. Cook didn't get to the land there. And talking about smoke signals, smoke as a way of communicating, that's what happened there. We sent smoke signals up the East Coast saying, warning the mobs up north that these terrorists were on their way up there, these stranger danger. And Lieutenant Cook didn't discover Australia. He discovered New Holland. Wasn't it called New Holland before he got here? I mean, how come always this big lie about this country? People don't know the truth, you know. And that's what we're about. Our people are very truthful people. Sophisticated society we were. People got no idea what happened. Totally indoctrinated about these lies. Well, they call it terra nullius, that legal fiction. Their own High Court said it was the act of unutterable shame. Well, what does that mean exactly? You know, a total, you know, it's another way of saying genocide, but they didn't tell you that. An act of unutterable shame, that's shame. That's the basis of the occupation here. That's shameful basis, right? But full-on propaganda, indoctrination, that's the foundation. We know this. That's why we do the things like what Paul was talking about, what Gurridyula does. We're occupying our land back. We're taking it back. You know, we're the Holocaust survivors, the colonised refugees. It's a very hostile community out there, has been for a long time. And it's a great effort to be able to do that. I'm very proud of my people who survived this, still got our spirit intact. And we're not happy about your bullshit society. It's garbage, unsustainable. And it's going to change, right? And we know what's going to change it. You mightn't care about the blacks being genocided, but the eco side's going to affect you, right? I believe there's a parallel between genocide, ecocide, and suicide. Right? You want to go there? You've got to stop. You've got to recognise our rights now, not when you're ready. Not when you're ready. We want our basic and fundamental human rights recognised now. GFY, you know. We need to stand up. You fellas, all right? You've got no human rights. You've got a charter called human rights, but that's not enforceable law. There's no enforceable human rights legislation or law in the country. It's something we could come together on. You know, we want to recognise everybody's human rights. Tip this garbage government out, these criminals. It's all based on crime. You know, they called us animals to begin with. This is familiar, what's going on with Israel and Palestine. Now, they describe people as animals, justify them killing you. You know, Australia makes them look like amateurs and Nazis. Australia's like a Nazi wet dream. You know, they educated these people and Zionists. That's where they got it. Very rich continent, Australia. A lot of resource wealth here. Who's controlling this place here? It's basically controlling the South Pacific, all of it. Like this big continent here. You know, this is occupied land by our people. We say from the beginning. Our history goes way back, beyond their dating techniques. You know, people should think about it. And we lived in not just harmony with the land, we lived in harmony with all those mobs right across this country. We had it together. We didn't need intervention by anybody. These colonisers didn't bring anything to our country other than hatred and diseases. That's all they brought here. Yeah. They owe us big time. Everyone here is living on the proceeds of crime. We're doing hard time. What can't people see? I can't believe it, you know. Or worried about your little quarter acres, you know. It's disgraceful. Australia's a crime scene. It's a crime against all humanity, right? And we have a lot to offer. Our knowledge is embedded in our genetic genes. And that's why they want to commit genocide, to kill that thought or that mindset, you know. Like I said, we're the Holocaust survivors, the colonised refugees, the fringe dwellers, the ghetto dwellers, the incarcerated people in this country. You know, all that's going to come to light sooner or later. And that's why that's why we do things like camp sovereignty. You know, right in their face, in their so-called King's Domain, in their botanical gardens. I think if we can sustain that occupation, that's a clear statement, right? And it's a smack in their face. And that's what we want to do, you know. And I really appreciate, I work basically with non-Aboriginal people. My people are caught up in the corporations. I don't blame them, you know, they've never had, you know, they've been starved, lived on rations most of their lives. I've been lucky. I've had a strong family, grew up in a strong community, been able to do these things. I've never had a job. I wouldn't be working for these people anyway. You know, it's the last thing I could think about, you know. I'm used to my freedom. I'll never go back to that shit, you know, ever. I've been on the dole all my life. I see it as a token rent.
The beginnings of reparatory justice there, you think, huh? Beginnings of reparatory justice.
That's right, yes. I spent probably 50 years on the dole. I'm going to create a T-shirt called I Survived Centrelink. Because that's the causation of a lot of mental harm for not just Aboriginal people. I don't know if people have been on the dole, the rigmarole they put you through on a regular basis, you know. I've been probably kicked off the dole more than most people, like, you know, regular occurrence. It doesn't worry me. You know, I'm capable of surviving in my own country. I'm demanding the rent. But there's a lot goes, it's trillions of dollars you owe our people, right? Why are we the most poorly housed people in our own country? You know, there's poorly educated. You know, Even the war effort, our people went to war in this country because it was better than living on a concentration camp. Right? It was a bit of an adventure. You get out there and you might even make a few mates. Right? It was an adventure for our people. We got paid a third of the wage. There was no soldier settlement when we came back. You couldn't even get a drink in the RSL. You know, it's disgusting, this country. Everything about it. People should take that on board, you know. When you see an Aboriginal person who's destitute, you know, on their knees in this country, getting kicked around by the cops and everybody else, you know. People should have a think about what happened to our people. You don't know nothing about the history of this country, but that's part of the whole propaganda, and you know, we need. They make it that we need to be civilised and helped by the invaders, trespassers, stray aliens. I call them astray aliens. They should butt out. You know.
We might take that opportunity to give you a little rest, and we'll go to Lucho and have a chat. And there's a break coming up, and we'll come back. And we'll come back. And we'll come back. And we'll come back. Yeah, but have no fear. Have no fear. We'll hear from Rob again this evening.
Hello, 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 hello.
So, I guess one of the things about this evening is to try to show the connections between the various communities around the world, and show that this struggle is a kind of universal one. Colonisation is the thing that's created the world as we understand it. As I say, I'm a Jamaican fella. The Portuguese got to us in the middle of the 1400s. The speaker we're going to hear from next comes from the same kind of part of the world that I come from, and in the recent past has been home on a visit. And so, Lucho, if you wouldn't mind, thanks very much.
Okay. Well, hello everyone, and well, for me it's an honor and a privilege to be close to our fighters for this land, and just to let you know, I'm from the Latin American Solidarity Network, and we just visiting some communities in Latin America in the last 2 weeks, and we've been invited to a gathering with the Zapatistas. I don't know if people know about the Zapatistas here, so okay, people know about them, about the history, about the uprising happening in 1994, and they've been there for 32 years. So we visited them, and they said, pass a message to our brothers and sisters from the First Nations, and also to our brothers of Australia. Because the message is that they were totally impressed that Aboriginal people in Australia exist and is fighting. So that was very impressive for them, because no one knows about that happened in Latin America or in Europe. People don't know about what happened with Aboriginal people in Australia. So for them was very impressed that when the different table we did, we were about 12 from Australia, of 12 people talking there, and they said, if they survive, we can survive, because they talking about the problem of what happened in humanity today. Over there was impressed for us. The first day, we saw 700 militias marching in front of us, and they're saying that we are alive, we're still fighting, and we're not going to stop. So at the moment, they managed and they liberated 12 areas, 12 caracoles. So that means is an area of, in the south of Chiapas, is all the border is nearly liberated by the Zapatistas, and the indigenous people there living in very harmony with the peasants and with the people there in Mexico. They said they have a philosophy, and they say they're very close to original people here, because they think, as our comrade, our friend said, we are not here to destroy, we are here to build. So for 540 years, we've been dominated, we've been abused, we've been trying to destroy our culture, but for 500 years, we're still alive, we're still fighting. And they're building an alternative. They said the problem of all what happened in our history is because when in the 1600s, 1700s, the state appeared. The state, they said, is the cause of the all wars, all the problems that happen in humanity. But we cannot destroy the state. All the failure revolutions in Latin America have been trying to destroy the state, taking the state, and try to build a new society from the state. So the proposal of the Zapatistas is that we need to build community. We need to build the alternative now, not waiting for the future. We need to start transforming ourselves, building new relationships, respect First Nations, because they don't destroy, because without the land, people cannot exist. That's the main thing, the main message they said. Without the land, we cannot exist. So we need to protect the land. We need to build a new kind of relationship, a new kind of society. So we're talking about a people who are, there are 4 First Nations in Mexico, in the southern Mexico, who are building new kind of relations. We saw the support bases, thousands of people. They're not alone, you know? And they are against, the main thing also they said is they are against dispossession, they're against exploitation, they're against repression, and they're against plundering. So they're talking about this is the 4 wheels of capitalism. So we need to put down capitalism to build a new society. Yeah, exactly. You know? So the idea of what the message was that they want to join the struggle. They want to express the solidarity for the original people here. And so mainly the Zapatistas, they have 32 years. They are organizing to resist what happened with capitalism, because what happened in our societies, we are living from the ideas of Europe, the Eurovisions, you know? Eurovisions. We forgot about, they try to destroy, they're talking about the 4th war, because they try to destroy our original people. They try to destroy all the spirituality, all the knowledge they've been accumulating for thousands of years. Because that's why, as Uncle said, we need to stand up and we need to do something, support our comrades, support our friends, and be ready, stand up and building from now, from today, building is possible a new society. So, great. Thank you, Roscoe.
Thank you very much for that. So that's the kind of first half of our evening kind of underway. We're going to have a little song and a little sing-along and then a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk some more about sovereignty and bloodlines. What I'd hoped about this front half is that you'll be able to see or understand where the speakers are coming from, what's their worldview as part of the second half of the conversation. And so I'd like to thank those people who've spoken so far: Robbie, Gurridyula, Lucho, Paul Towney from Orange. We have a message from Kanaky before we go any further as well. Unfortunately, there's been a death over there among our brothers and sisters, and so they're in deep mourning. They pass their acknowledgements and offer us custom and solidarity and seek to kind of say sorry, and they'll see us next time is the message. When we come back from the break, we've got some information from representatives and those campaigning on behalf of Kanaky people here in Naarm. So we'll be able to kind of hear the latest. But I thought we might go out to the break with a little tune. One of the things that we do Radio Rada-wise when we travel is play music, because it's an easy way to meet people, and it's a way to connect. One of the places we went was a place called Bays. And there's some young fellas there. It's on the beach. There's some young fellas there. They've got a QG, and they play music. And I turned up with my guitar, and I discovered that they knew a song that I knew, like an old song from Jamaica. And so I thought we made a little tune out of it. Gurridyula and I had a little rehearse. We call it a rehearse. We had a little jam earlier. Let's see how we go. Those who've seen the Radio Rada presentation in the past will have probably heard this song, and if you haven't, well, you'll enjoy it. It's a sing-along. Yeah, good. Yeah, good. I'm going to put this microphone down. Hopefully my voice will be able to carry, and the guitar. But yeah, it's a sing-along. Kind of a ska tune, an old rock steady ska tune from Jamaica, from a bunch of boys who called themselves the Gaylords in about 1973, I think. Seems it meant something else then. Got to move the barrier, 'cause we don't wanna be no warrior. Got to move the barrier, one and all, some way, somehow. Now, as I say, it's an old tune, and a bunch of young boys on the beach in Bays, Kanaky. Remembering Kanaky's kind of 2 hours straight out from Rockhampton, on the Tropic of Capricorn. They think they live in Gondwana, by the way. They are Aboriginal people. They actually believe they are Aboriginal people. And so, this is this is a tune of theirs. Now, the bit that I just did is the old bit. Bit on Baptu is the new bit. I am the bird, I am the bee, I am the deep blue 7 sea. I'm all the love I need, yeah. I am the bird, I am the bee, I am the deep blue 7 sea. I'm the fire burning you can see, so got to move the barrier. Now, this is the opportunity for some, like if there's a rapper in the room, you might sit next to me. Now, you all know Gurridyula, you all know that this lad spits a bar. So let's give him the opportunity, shall we? So we'll go back to the little bit of the chorus. Can you remember those words? The little list, yeah? Can you remember? We'll try it out. Here we go. I am the bird, I am the bee, I am the deep blue 7 sea. I'm all the love I need. Yeah, there you go. Here we go. I am the bird, I am the bee, I am the deep blue 7 sea. I'm the fire burning you can see.
We'll keep the fire burning, we'll keep their heads on hurting. They don't know how to challenge me. I'll keep on turning while this world's hurting. They won't get to me.
Yeah, got to move the barrier.
Got to move on.
'Cause I don't wanna be no warrior. Yeah.
Oh,
Got to move the barrier.
we somehow we gonna get out of this mess we call life. But I don't know how. I'll just keep putting wood on that fire, and I'll say what you should do is keep it burning. So we got to move the barrier. We got to move that barrier. Don't wanna be no warrior. Yeah. Got to move the barrier. One and all. We got to move it on. Yeah. We got the list in us again, you reckon? Here we go. All right, here we coming. Here we go. Got to move that barrier. No, that Harrier jet's coming to blow the scene. Murray's gonna stand on the ground. We say I'm taking that crown. You're not challenging me. Oh, we got to move the barrier. One and all. Somewhere, somehow, yeah, we got to move the barrier. Cause we don't wanna be no warrior. We got our list, here we go. I am I'm the fire burning, you can see it. I am I'm all the love I need, so we got to move the barrier. Yeah. Somewhere, somehow, yeah. Now, those young fellas had a little bit extra too, by the way, originally. I'm spitting bars, as you know. It's something like this. I was born to walk through the fire. I'm not much of a rapper, you see. My mama made me that way. And if you knew my grandmama, you'd understand what I do. Cause I'm on a mission, I do not need your permission to be who I was born to be. So we got to move the barrier, yeah, one and all. Somewhere, somehow, we got our list again, here we go. I am the bird, I am the bees, I am the deep blue seven seas. I'm the fire burning, you can see, yeah. I am the bird, I am the bees, I am the deep blue seven seas. All the love I need. You know what First Nations, birthplaces, birth patients, in a prison made from division to hurt races. Murder cases never give hurt races. This is absurd. Does it serve to be right? No. Is it just us, or is it justice? Are you just as pissed because it disgusts us? Lost my brother to the system, another mother grinding for a system majority. While you building the fire is in the building we're smoking around. Hoping you can see these roaches are broken it down, burning it down to the motherfucking ground. And fuck around with the black and brown fellas, never backing down, brothers now. 3% of the population have a representation in the prison system, but couples keep chasing us. We will send to the mission states debilitated and separated the feelings when they hated because they hated us. For and for, born in social disorder. Sons and daughters are told because they can't support them. Government made an order to deport us from under borders and slaughtered us, and they fought us. So they slaughtered us. Nah, what we gonna say? Ignored us. Nah, do not ignore us. Nah, because we're the sovereign First Nations. Move the barrier, cause we don't want to be no warrior. Yeah. Gotta move the barrier, one and all. Some way, somehow, yeah. I am the bees, I am the deep blue seven seas. I'm the fire burning, you can see it. I am the bird, I am the bees, I am the deep blue seven seas. I'm all the love I need. Can we do the verses well? Got to move the barrier. Yeah, why not? We don't wanna be no warrior. Yeah, got to move the barrier. One and all. Somewhere, somehow.
We can't get the second segment underway without thanking our hosts. One of the interesting things about this work is the kind of many and varied groups that I get to make contact with. And as you can see, I'm an ageing fellow. Most of the people I get to hang out with and work with are young, like the group, this Red Ant group, the Red Ant Collective. Are we a collective? The Red Ant Collective, who put their hands up to run this evening, to organise this evening, to corral all of you people, you good people, into the room to hear these speakers. So a little round of applause for Red Ant, if you wouldn't mind.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Roscoe, for the introduction. My name is Nandini, and there's a couple of worker bees running around who are also from Red Ant. Obviously, we're just kind of in the background. These guys are amazing and doing all the work and should be supported as much as possible by everyone. So thank you so much for coming along. Just to let you know that, for us, this event is so important because we are socialists. We believe that capitalism has brought destruction and death and misery to everyone in the world, and that we want to build something that's better, and we want people like everyone here, everyone who's in the panel, to be part of building something better than that. And we know that it's only possible to do that if we have anti-colonial resistance and anti-imperialist struggle at the top of that. In a country like Australia, private property and capital is imposed onto this land, and we want to fuck it off. That's what we want to do. What Gurridyula was saying earlier about Adani, hello. Adani is from my state in India. And what Adani does in India is exactly the same shit that's happening here. All across India, we call Indigenous people Adivasi, and they get kicked off their lands to build statues for people who kill communists. That happened in Gujarat, Google Vallabhai Patel. And that's what happens. People get dispossessed all across the world in the name of private property, in the name of forcing people to work every single day for a pittance, instead of learning and living from each other and living off the land, and being able to actually have a say in their society. So anyways, thank you so much, first and foremost, to everyone who's speaking and everyone who came. You're welcome to come and talk to me or anyone who looks serious about cameras afterwards. There's some sign-up sheets at the front, blah, 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 blah. And please just give a round of applause to our panelists again. Thank you.
And keep that going for the Red Ant Collective. We can't do this work without organisations like the Red Ant Collective. And so the second half, the second bit of this evening is, actually a bit of an overflow idea. When I was organising this, I realised that, there's about 15 people that I really needed to get together to bring up on stage and speak. And, of course, if there were 15 of us, well, we would be here till midnight. And so, you've got to try to be kind of selective with these things. And that's why our next speaker is interesting and important, I think. This is a person who keeps choosing to keep coming this side to make connection with his brothers and sisters and those in the struggle. Desmond Blurton, all the way from Boorloo. Travelled recently up to Adani, or up to Wiradjuri, to celebrate the 4th anniversary of the occupation there. Was at Camp Sovereignty on the weekend, and is with us this evening. Desmond Blurton.
Yes, thank you very much. I'd like to thank Gurridyula brother Wiradjuri 4-year anniversary. What an achievement, brother. Also, Camp Sovereignty. Congratulations and keep going, because nothing can deter us. Nothing. And and to the other brother who was here speaking about his country. Lucho, thank you. Yes, my name is Desmond Blurton. I'm a proud Ballardong Yuid Nyungah from Boorloo, Perth, Western Australia. The colonialism over there has done a lot of damage to our Budja, which means land. Bibliman Budja, the Bibliman nation, and I'm in with the tribes, such as Ballardong, Yuid, and the tribes of the southwest, such as Menang. I think Captain Bunbury came over to our tribal lands, and Captain Philippe, that guy. Yeah, there was so much destruction, such as a hanging out in Ascot, a horse track. The colony came out, settlers, to see this man get hung, and they left him up there for 30 minutes. They bring him down, not to bury him, but to take him up to my country, Ballardong, York, to chain him to a tree and let him rot there, so that our people will see it and will be scared of what's there. We call him Jenga Awara, which translate to not very good. My grandfather told me stories. My auntie, lovely Auntie Gwen, just passed away last year. She was the eldest of my dad's brothers and sisters. She only just passed away last year. She lived to a very nice old ripe age. She won West Australian of the Year. She was very good at keeping our family together. I don't know about Dad, but he was a bit of a... But he knew the importance of protecting family. Because Granddad, there was no heat. He wouldn't take his family into the town, fearing that they're going to get taken from him. So he took his family out in the bush to stay there, fearing that colonialism, redcoats, will take his family once they see his children. Granddad was strong, one hard person. You mess with his family, you mess with him. And he was not a big man in stature, but his values for his family were through and through. He worked cleaning toilets in York. He didn't want to go to the war. What's out there for the war for us other than destruction? We don't belong in wars. Why? Because we have our nations on our land and we keep the peace. We know our boundary lines. We know where they end and stop because our creators have given them to us. But over colonisation, they change. We know where they stop and we know where they start. And that's important to give to our children. With the mission days, yeah, I don't know. I've been told a few mission stories when I was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'd lay there and listen to the mission stories about about sheep head soup every night. Sheep head soup. They would work out in the vegetable garden and get all the fresh fruit and veggies. None of them was going to any of our mob. They would go to the mission staff. So they'd have to steal an orange or an apple that was dirty, rotten or something, but just tap it off. A.O. Neville, you may have heard of him over there. We call him Aaron the Devil from our mob. The destruction in those missions, ethnic cleansing. Read Bible, clothes equals food. Everything's got to equal up to food. Give us rations. Chuck a ration out here, there, chuck a ration, and that they right. They got a mash bag. They can go out in the community there. They can go around and collect off the curb. We still do that today. Sorry for my voice. We still do that today. Over there, Western Australia, and everywhere else, shoot to kill policies on our people. Martial law. They know it because they will get off. Because they have their all-white juries. I'm a part of Deaths in Custody Watch Committee in Western Australia, and I've been campaigning to ban all-white juries. Because I know that our people are getting maximum sentence no matter what. And when a trial is being presented to the community, they will get the jury from the rich area of whatever. So they're going to come there and give us the maximum sentence. No ways. New South Wales University was giving that a bit of flack. So I am going to reactivate that soon, and I hope everyone looks out for that, because that's an important part where the justice system has maybe got a lady at the front and there's a scales where it's supposedly equal. This is the scales. We want that balance. Only way we can balance that is we do it ourselves. I do a lot with homeless too. What is the most depressing? I don't know. But to me, being homeless is so hurtful. There's nothing out there. This is our bush. Whether it's on, you put concrete over it, it's still our sacred tribal lands. Concrete don't make it nothing except sealing what's underneath. And I feel that our ancestors are underneath these concrete pillars. Over there, we had executions. Yagan, you may have heard of Yagan. His dad, Mijagurda, faced a firing squad. It's not even... Just a couple of years ago, an Aboriginal lady from Geraldton, police jumped out in front of her. Within 2 to 3 seconds, she also got a firing squad put on her. And these people get off because of all white juries. Our sovereignty is so important. Our sovereignty is so important to our movement. And I thank Robbie, Claude, what they're doing here in Naarm to keep that fire alive. That fire alive is flickering. It's maybe it goes to amber, but that light don't go out. And fire keepers keep that fire burning. Thank you.
There are many and varied ways, it would appear, to stand up. There are many and varied ways to exercise sovereignty. And on the weekend, Sunday particularly, at Camp Sovereignty, there were a group of people who had the fire brought to them, I guess you would say. They had to make their decision to stand up and defend something that they believe in. Now, sister here, Chelsea, are you? I can't see you in the room. Ah, here we go. Come in. One of those people is with us this evening, and I'm hoping she might be able to just give you an idea about what people faced on the weekend. And you know, give you a perspective about that you might not have heard.
I wish you were closer.
Stay with it, Jess. Yes.
Thank you. Right. Hey, you fellas, my name's Chelsea. I'm a Gundi Jamara, Trawulway, Bunurong woman. I suppose I just want to say before I start why I ended up there. I fight for country, but my country is on the other end of Bunurong country. And what we're fighting for over there is, it's volcano country. It's very sacred volcano country, and we have a lot of destruction going on over there that I've been fighting for years, trying to build up awareness and education, and the land that's over there is currently getting developed quite quickly. It's the fastest growing area of Melbourne at the moment, and there's some endangered flora and fauna over there where you can't find it anywhere else. But money speaks, unfortunately, and I've been watching for quite a while what these fellas do, what Robbie does, people who stand by him, and it's a big fight, and it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of sacrifice to be on the front line, and it's worth it. And sometimes we don't win, and once it's gone, it's gone. And we're already up against a lot of things as Aboriginal people, and knowing who was in the city that day, a lot of us mob were trying to stop people from attending that. Unfortunately, a lot of people disregarded who was leading that march, and they weren't really listening to us or allies that were trying to back us up. So a lot of people are saying, I'm not there for them, you know, but we're trying to say, who's leading the march? And you're backing them by attending. And I've done quite a few front lines. Unfortunately, that is a normal thing for Aboriginal people, as you all know. And unfortunately too, that means we're not scared. And that includes my kids. So my daughter was there on that day. And she's real deadly and she's real staunch like me. But she could have been really badly hurt if I didn't have someone to help me take her. What happened on that day was dangerous. What happened on that day was bullying. What happened on that day was trying to silence us. And that's why I wanted to stand by these fellas, because they've been doing it for so long. You know, they're protecting sacred country. They're protecting ancestral remains. They're protecting a gathering space that's not only for them, but they've created it for us. My daughter has actually come out and danced there. They gave them that space for my girls' cultural dance group to come out. And we don't have many spaces like that, unfortunately, in Melbourne, because it's been so built up and so developed. And especially out in the west where I am, I'm trying to stop it from looking like Melbourne, and it's really hard. But they've saved that space for us, and they've helped give us a space like that. And I guess it was also my way, not only standing with them because they're mob and we've got to stick together when we're mob, but also, I guess in a way, a thank you. My way of giving back to them. I don't stand on the front line there. I'm all the way on the other side of the boundary. But with mob, if you're in a war, we all come together. We help each other. We're a very peaceful culture. We're not a violent culture. And unfortunately on that day, I've done a lot of swearing. I had to apologise to my mum. But I'm real proud. I'm real proud of these fellas. I'm real proud of everyone. I wasn't expecting it to get so big. On the day, I was actually coming from a protective sense. I went live to help them. I went live to capture what was happening so people could be held accountable. And I went live to also show society that when we say what's going on, it's not a story. These are the things you don't see in the media. These are the things that people don't capture, because sometimes the racism is so fast you don't have enough time to pull your phone out and record it. Do you know what I mean? And it was scary, but that's how staunch we are as Aboriginal people. We knew the potential that was going to come. I knew that when I made the decision to head to that camp and stand with those people, because I knew it was quite a peaceful, small camp, and I know how big those crowds are with that particular group of people. And again, like we're talking about sacrifices, that was a sacrifice that I made, just like it's a sacrifice for them, knowing that that stuff was going on, but they still stayed, you know?
After you finish up, me and Desmond had to make a very important decision regarding that sacrifice. Me and Desmond had to make a very important decision whether to be there on Sunday. And as it unfolded, and to see you women there, we sort of catered for that as well, but showing up like that, we didn't expect that, for Jan to rock up like that, but it was done, and it put a bit of a spanner in our works, what we were trying to achieve. What we were trying to achieve is not to become a target. We were there, the place was left pretty destitute for a few days, a week or so, regarding our spiritual warfare, individually or whatever. But we were constantly watched, we were constantly observed. The leading days, is this all okay? Yeah. The leading days up to Sunday. Desmond
chose to go low profile. I chose to go low profile. Last time anyone heard of me, I was in Adelaide hitchhiking home. But I got a taxi home from Melbourne. Last episode, Desmond's in Brisbane. But he's here. We're both here and we're low undercover. We only do what we're told spiritually. We don't know one day to the next what our next step is. We only listen to the ancestors. Nobody can buy us, nobody can pay us, whatever. We know who we work for and serve. But in saying what Arnie worked here, what she went through and what Djuran went through, we're a bit guilt-ridden about that because we knew what was going to happen as we were chosen as the targets, me and Desmond. They sent their best at us to try to intimidate us. And the one looked like that crazy bugger's father. He was just as crazy as him, wasn't he, Desmond? And he demanded respect out of me. He never got it out of me, so he tried it with Desmond. Desmond said, you're not going to get it from him, you're not going to get it from me. So the only respect you're going to get it if you go down to the rock, mate. This is what this place is about. You don't need to know my name, you don't need to know Desmond's name, and we don't need to know your name to give you respect. The way you are, only respect you're going to get off me if I rip your fucking head off and pull your gizzards out and tie you up like a fucking wombat and throw you on the fire up and roll you down the hill under a car, you dog. Get the fuck out of here. And that's my motto, is don't ever try to understand something, because you never fucking will. It'll do your head in, because some things are not meant to be understood, especially in the spirit world or a fucking lunatic's mindset. I've seen you mad trying to work these fuckers out. So it just is what it is. And if you don't fear it, nothing can fucking touch you. So no cunt's going to rip my neck off and shit down my neck. Oh, well, I'm fucking standing. And these are the things we've got to contend with every day walking up that hill. We've become experts of reading the auras and the everything around them. You just know what's walking up that hill, and you know what's going to come out of their mouth and their last words. But we'll get back to the issue about spiritual warfare and safety and guilt and the things we have to go through, the things that us blackfellas have got to go through, and still to be sitting up sane and not having a largactal shot every 3 months or whatever, where a normal person living in their perceived world and a panic attack is the stock market is falling and they'll jump out the window and commit suicide. We got 100 times worse than that, 10 times a day of the things that we've got to deal with. And yours is just daily life. Oh shit, the stock went down, Dale, we lost 30,000. Oh shit. Well, my business is down, jumping out the window and shit, whatever. But what we contend with every day of the week, you've got to be sick, unwell to live in this colony and to be medicated and have a fucking bottle of wine or whatever to get through it. You don't have to once you realise the game. The game is about collecting spirits and collecting souls. The biggest war we ever got is spiritual warfare, and they know it. It's a complicated game, but it's not too complicated once they've got you on a chessboard, all right, and taking the colour out of it. But in saying so, me and Desmond were the targets for Sunday, and we had to make a decision to sit back. And then Djuran and this lady were there, and we thought, no, they've got Brad, they've got Violet, they've got white supporters. So everything's going to be less aggressive if they're men, truly men. They'll see white and women. And you could see that in their body language. They were shocked. Where are the men? Where are the bastards what we've lined up the nights before? where is that old cunt and where's him? But anyway, I don't want all that glory, so I'm fucking nobody. But to me, the women and children are somebody, and they shouldn't have been put in that predicament. We feel a bit shit about that, but that's the way it played out. But what did come out of this is strong warrior women, and it has taken us back like 80 years ago when they did that sort of thing. Roll up on a hill, there's a family, wipe them out. If you hand them some blankets of smallpox, or just kill them there and then on the spot. That's another bit of area again, and we won't have that problem no more. But that's what it reminded me of. They're going up on the hill, an Aboriginal camp, and just terrorising people, just practising their culture and mind their own bloody business. That was the hardest part for me, to know that was meant to, that attack was directed for someone else and it wasn't just for the women and children. But they were shocked. They were absolutely shocked to see us there, and they backpedalled it a little bit. And they had no choice. As far as Hitler, whatever his name was, the head honcho was concerned, well, this is what we've got, let's make dinner out of that. But what it has done, what I figure, the first time in Australian history, what I can remember, they've labelled their own white citizens and mercenaries from another country, or are still under colonialism, still under the butcher's apron, to come here with them tactics, and it backfired on them. They're trying to be somebody and be this awareness, this big awareness of Australia, like Trump campaign, we want to make Australia great again, rubbish. And all they got out of it was how unmanly they are, how un-Aussie they are, and how bogan they are to go up a hill on a peaceful Aboriginal men and women and support activists. It made them look like fools, and what it has given them has given a status, not only in Australia, but status to the whole world, especially in Australia, where they've labelled their own white citizens under the Australian flag as terrorists, instead of calling an Arab a terrorist and bloody abos the no-hopers and this and that we're the problem. So what they've done, for as long as I can remember, that they are the problem and they are the terrorists, and they've singled their own out, and with mercenaries from another colonised country on board. They've labelled their own to not only the whole country, to the whole world. And I don't think they've done that. So thank you, you warrior women. Yes. As far as I'm concerned, you have made history. You have made history in this country, along with Uncle Robbie, with his own sovereignty, and our theme, keep the fire burning, because that fire burning is our sovereignty. That is us. That is our spirit. That is our symbiotic relationship with this country. We're the apex of the animal kingdom on this country to look after the rest of it. And unfortunately, we've got these feral ones coming in and eat our ankles and stuff and digging rabbit holes. Yes. So that's all I want to say, is to release my guilt and Desmond's guilt, but we can call it wisdom at the same time. So we're not going to get this credit. The ladies are.
Thank you, Uncle. Thank you. You want to respond?
I do, but I'm feeling that was really uplifting. I'm going to bring it back down. I feel really bad.
Proud of you. We're proud of you. We knew it was going to unfold, and you should be spamming the word.
These dickheads come up in there, fight women, and they got fucking beat.
Just want to point out that if men were there, there might have been a different scenario. But
It could have been a man, like this crazy old fucker, lopping their head off and rolling down there. There could have been something different. So thank you ladies for that.
I remember we all got targets on our backs. Who's at the end of that camera and that lens? Huh?
Figure of speech. But those are the things we've got to contend every day, and we've got to think things out, and we can't be hasty in making a decision because it can turn any minute, and the situation can turn, and the decision that you make prior to that, whatever. Everything's got to be thought out in every angle. You can't just respond from one action or one response from an action. It's got to be thought out every possible angle to protect yourself and to protect the others from being idiots within themselves. If you're going to step in shit, that's in trouble. You'll naturally pull your fucking foot out. But if you step fucking 3 feet in fucking shit, you'll take in it until you want to stay there. Are you in there on purpose? Because if you've got 1 foot in shit, you might have a chance of pulling that out instead of your whole body choice. These are the things we've got to deal with every day, and the hasty decision where we've got to know it will be detrimental on everyone else and it could be extremely detrimental to one's own. Be careful how you speak. Unravel someone else's mess because they only know one way how to get out of it, and maybe it's tied up or something. But you've got to unravel their mess and the way they speak. Because they're looking for positions themselves within not knowing themselves. You've got to be careful how you speak and how you respond, talk and talk, because you're always someone else's target or whatever, or they might be my targets, and I want to shit over your head, put you in the fucking boot and fix your uncle or something like that.
You've got to respond.
And I'm totally not violent. Totally non-violent. And look at it.
Yeah, I think I back him up on that. You got to be careful how you talk, and even on the day, a lot of people told me that I was quite calm. I actually thought I wasn't, so that was reassuring. But on the day at the start of the video, you'll hear me say relax quite a few times. Relax, relax, stop. And that's because I was trying to get my daughter in the car to get her away to safety. We already had a safety plan. That's the unfortunate thing with Aboriginal people is we've got to think 5 steps ahead. So I'm going to a safe space that these fellas have provided for us Aboriginal people to come to, and I'm going in there with a safety plan. And I shouldn't have to do that, and we shouldn't have to do that, you know, but we did. And there was a safety plan. Someone else already had my keys, and she knew when I say go, you go. Unfortunately, because of the hill looking down and the tree line, we didn't see them as quickly. We thought we'd see them in the distance, but we didn't really see them until they were at the traffic lights, directly across the road from the hill.
On the Saturday, the police rang me, supposed to be watching it, rang me on Saturday. Do you need a spare Sunday for? I said, yes, we need a spare Sunday. So what happened Sunday? No one showed up on Sunday and ended up the police escorting them there.
I'll answer to that at the end, don't you worry. But at the start of the video you hear me say relax, 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 and that's because even though she wasn't at the car yet, they already moved up before we got her in the car. That's how fast they were and how strategic they were, and I've been analysing the area. I'm an Aquarius, so I analyse a lot of things. But I've been trying to figure out how an entire mob dressed in black made their way down the street, because it's such an open area where they came from. And I've seen videos where they've been changing in alleys, like into casual clothes. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe something like that happened, or we were really, really let down by systematic racism, as you would have seen at the end of the video as well. So, yeah, that's why you'll hear me say relax, relax, because I'm protecting my kid in my car, trying to get her in the car, whilst also facing this way, being hyper vigilant, trying to be safe, trying to protect my kid and let her get away. Fortunately, she did. She got away. I had a real deadly, staunch woman help me with that, who I threw the keys to. Now, I could have left as well. I could have been the one that drove my car, because it was my car. But the work that I've seen these people do for all the years that they've done it, and it's not just at the camp. I've seen them stand up at rallies. I've seen them stand up and speak for us on podiums of thousands of people. And there's an old picture of me that I didn't know existed when the NAIDOC marches, you know, in the 90s, where the crowds were really, really small. And there's a picture of me sitting on the step, turning around, looking at the aunties up on the step speaking. And that's exactly what we do with these people as well. We still look up to them. We still have respect for them because they've led the way. And that's why I stayed, because they've done their work and they're still doing their work, and they should be resting, but they're still fighting. And we need to step up and be there for them too, for how much they've done for us. And so that's why I stayed. And everything happened so fast, but it was also very slow. They moved in quite quick, but it felt like every time it looked like it was going to back off, they'd walled themselves up again, they'd come back in again. And then you see a whole bunch of people get hurt. Quite a few times there was 3-on-1. There were women getting hurt, hit, kicked, bashed. But we stayed. And we stayed because it was worth it, because there's an Aboriginal gathering space. There's ancestral remains there. And for these people here to still be there after all this time, for 20 years, it's worth it. Do you know what I mean? It's special, it's sacred. And we weren't going to let them move in there and take that from them, and also take it from us for what they provide for us, you know? The things that I saw in the moment, I didn't really realise how full on it was, and I'm still processing it. And unfortunately, like I said at the start, these are the things we're used to. When I hear a lot of people were crying watching it, or they felt helpless, I still haven't really processed that. I haven't got to the upset stage yet, because like I said, we're used to it. Do you know what I mean? Right?
Every day was
Yeah. But what was really disappointing, as I said, the systematic racism, when the police turned up, I'll backtrack a little bit. I reached a point before the coppers. I'll say coppers, sorry fellas if there's any coppers in here, but yous are coppers. But it reached a point where it was really hard, because I'm trying to record and I was being surrounded as well, and so I was trying to be real strategic. And our culture is peaceful. We are peaceful people, and sometimes we do get emotional, and we can get highly emotional, and that's because of what we carry daily. But we are actually really good, peaceful people with a very peaceful, respectful culture. And it was really hard on that day to balance, as you could tell by the swearing and the apologies to my mum online. But when that flag came out, and they kept going back and forth probably 3 times, and I kept seeing our people get hurt more and more and more, and it was a really hard situation, because you felt helpless, because if one person was getting hit, you want to jump in, but there's 10 of them coming for that one person of whoever come in and help. So it was actually really hard for us, and we're carrying that guilt too, that we didn't do more because we couldn't, you know? But then something come over me when I came face to face with the mustached fella. I call him I know we're real respectful, I gave that talk, but I call him Tommy Tippy, like the bottle, the drink, because I have no respect for that fella. And that was really hard. That actually really tested my integrity, because while I was holding the phone, you would have heard me say, look at this fella, and you could hear I was getting worked up and I was losing control, you know? And that was really, really hard because I actually wanted to run him. But my head was telling me, just record him. You need to document this for these people, because I'm going to go back to where I fight my fight for my country on the other side of Bunjileenee country, you know, on the other side of the boundary, and they're the ones that are back here. And that's the best that I could do in the situation to help document it, to help protect them, to help spread awareness. But when he stomped on that flag, oh man, I got wild. That's when that power come over me, and I walked to the front. And the real deadly thing was, we had another sister girl, Yaron, she was at the back. We had another brother boy, PJ, he was in the middle, and then I was at the front to the side. We stopped them from entering the fire circle and destroying it. They did destroy a fire, but they didn't get to that circle. They didn't get to the ancestral remains, and we protected that area for these fellas and for us as well. But when that flag come out, that's where my blood come through, because I'm fighting Gunditjmara. And we're also Bunurong, where a lot of our land was taken, including the Aboriginal Reserve. That was actually sold off, and now you don't even know it's there. It's a town. And I walked myself to the front middle. I had enough, basically. I had enough of them going back and coming back and going back and coming back. And I fist pumped and I screamed, always was, always will be Aboriginal land. And I called that 4 times. Those fellas, they didn't really know what to do, eh? I saw them sort of be like, look, like, what? And then I heard right? And then they tried to build up, white man fight back, white man fight back. And I was just like, all right then. So I went louder. Right? But that time, the second time, because they'd done that, and they said it twice, and I didn't give them a third chance to say white man fight back. That's when I took a few steps forward. My fist went forward more. It went from this to this. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. And then they slowly started backing off. They were a bit confused. I don't think they've been in that situation before with with deadly black people. And also the fact that they couldn't break us. They were severely pummeling us, but they couldn't break us. We weren't leaving. We weren't giving up, you know. And then they slowly started to back off. And then, of course, like a movie, the coppers turned up. Right? And this is the systematic racism. They stood to the side. I was so worked up, and that's what really got me worked up more. They stood to the side. They weren't even walking towards us. They were just kind of stepping there while all these fellas were walking off. And the real interesting thing about these fellas is you can tell they're very well trained. They know what they're doing. Because as soon as the coppers turned up, they put their heads down, went all coward, put their heads down, put their hands in their pocket, all bunched together, walked off. No more yelling, no more screaming. They were good little boys after that. But then I was telling the cop, like, you going to do anything, you know? And then they just asked, has anyone been assaulted? What? Do you know what I mean? You just showed up to an Aboriginal camp, clearly, like, where people were bleeding and everything. And yet, to me, they were wasting time. And then we're like, get them before they go away. And when they went after them, they were walking. You know, it was so disappointing. But again, not surprising, unfortunately. And then they come back to us, and it felt like the way that they were speaking to us, I was basically begging for them to help us and to help our people and to help the people at the camp. and they were still giving us attitude. And there's parts that you don't see on the recording where they're saying to us, stop yelling at us. And I'm saying to them, hang on a sec, we just got smashed, yeah? Can you have some sensitivity and compassion and understanding? And it was still the back and forth stuff, you know? But at the end of the day, those coppers got exposed. I told the cops themselves that I got an apology, but I told them, I'm taking you to Rajak. If you don't know what Rajak, it's an Aboriginal Justice Committee. And I also told them, like, you need cultural safety and awareness training. You need to do better. And don't you worry, I'm coming here, I'm doing a big complaint about you fellas. But also they got exposed as well too. It wasn't just the NSN. It also exposed what we go through when we go to the coppers for help as well. And this is why we don't go to them a lot of the time, because we don't have trust that they're going to help us. We don't have trust that they're going to do the right thing, and we don't have trust that they're going to understand, because we're always the one to blame. Even when it's so clear that we weren't the perpetrators, it was unprovoked and they came to us, do you know what I mean? They came to use. Then, do you know what I mean? But something real deadly that this fella said, Robbie, tonight he was having a chat with the camp, and he said, it's actually backfired on all of them. They've got a lot more support now. They've got a lot more awareness now from the community and a lot more people. And this isn't just Melbourne, Victoria, this is internationally. Everyone knows who this fella is and what he's done and what that camp isn't for. And I have peace now that they're going to be okay. And I have peace now. Everything that you've done and worked for, fought for, stood for, it's going to be okay.
Thank you, sis. Thank you, sis. Fantastic. That's fantastic. Thank you very much for that. I thought it was important for Chelsea to speak this evening so that people could hear firsthand from somebody who was there. You know, these stories get confused. They get mixed up. And as I say, The Guardian came to Camp Sovereignty the other morning, Monday morning, and I said to the Guardian journalist, if I wake up in the morning and your story doesn't say Nazis fuck off, then there's a problem. And of course, when we wake up in the morning, what do we read? That was an alleged attack. You know, and this is again, you know, back to the point of evenings like this evening. We need to get rid of the barrier. We need to get rid of, you know, the wall, whatever we want to call it, the thing that makes us provide, you know, equal time for our oppressor. And so, I mean, I guess that's what Radio Rada stands for. One of the other things that Radio Rada stands for is a connection with Kanaky, and unfortunately this evening, we haven't been able to hear directly from our friends and our allies in New Caledonia, in those communities. I had the great good fortune to travel to Kanaky, helped and funded by feminists who work tirelessly to make sure that Kanaky families are provided for. They made it possible for me to travel there and make the connections that I have. They look after us, they do our translations, and so much more, and raise money for families, all through Kanaky. And so this evening we've got Emma with us from Kanaky Solidarity Naarm, who's going to give us a bit of an update on what's going on there. Just quickly, for people who don't know, it's kind of a year since an uprising. They're calling it an uprising. It wasn't an uprising, it was an attack by the French. It was an attempt to overthrow the New Caledonian government. Pure and simple. we now have in New Caledonia interestingly, a Kanak is the head of the country, but he's a loyalist. Previously, you had a Kanak government for the first time in the history of New Caledonia, the longest-serving government in the history of New Caledonia, a Kanak-led government that was overthrown on Christmas Eve in order that the French could do the negotiating that they're doing now. And so Emma, Sarah is here somewhere. I saw her before, at the back of the room there. These guys work, as I say, tirelessly to make sure that Kanaky families have enough and are connected. And I'd ask you, put your hands together. Emma Hartley.
Testing. Yeah, we're all right at the back? Thanks. I can not follow Chelsea at all. Thank you so much, I think, for sharing all that. I'm Emma. I'm a settler. I'm with the group Free Kanaky Solidarity NAM. Our kind of contact with Kanaky is, as Roscoe said, with feminists, Kanak feminists on the ground there, and they tell us all the time they're really inspired by the good fight that they see happening here. And that's why a lot of the work we do alongside groups like the Black People's Union, we do alongside Treaty Before Sports up north. So I want to start off all this by saying if you want to donate to Camp Sovereignty, as of this afternoon, I believe there is now one kind of donation location, true because it rhymes, that is on the Black People's Union Instagram page, last I checked, as of circa 5 p.m. this afternoon. I think that is, one way in which solidarity kind of occurs across the Pacific is the fact that, we have these really different but also same struggles happening not only here but also in Kanaky as well. I should also mention that is the Kanaky flag to the right on the screen there, the blue, red, green, yellow. As often the country, colonially known as New Caledonia, is often represented under the French flag. I'll keep this really short and sweet. This has been a long night. My voice, I don't think, is the most important voice here, to say the least. Really just here to say that I think, as Chelsea kind of showed for us, often what the media shows is obviously not what is actually happening on the ground. And one of the things we're trying to do is show what has been happening in Kanaky, where French troops literally have thousands of boots on the ground as of May last year. What happened May last year, long story short, was essentially the French government tried to introduce reforms that would dilute the Kanak vote. The Kanak vote often correlating with a vote for independence. Essentially, that's a very long story short. As a result, you see resistance amongst Kanak communities. They come out in force. Unfortunately, so did the French. And that's how you result. I think it was over 2,500 French troops on the ground, still there. Over a year later, they have not left. What the Kanak feminists are telling us they need most right now are really two things, or three. Let's make it three. One, medicine. Medicine's super expensive, or the funds to buy medicine on the ground there. What they're dealing with now is because essentially there's been a cutback in, what do we want to call it? I don't want to call it the welfare state, but the welfare state. And so they're not getting the health services they need. A lot of the French doctors, which kind of made up most GPs in Kanaky, up and left during the uprising last year, because it's not their country, they have no reason to stay. And as a result, obviously it's the Kanak communities that have suffered the most. The other thing I think that is really important to them is the fact of just getting news out as much as possible. That's kind of why this little group exists, is because through our various connections, we want to make sure that we're kind of jumping that language barrier. Part of the problem is the fact that Francophone and Anglophone Pacific kind of struggle to communicate just because of the language barrier, and we think there's better reasons to not be able to get news out, right? So if it's something as simple as just translating what's happening there into English so more people know about it, then that's great. I've forgotten the third thing. I think the third thing finally, if I can recall. Sorry, I'm stalling here. Yeah, that's right. We also have our own fundraiser to kind of help with, helping the Kanak feminists on the ground. You would have seen these flyers probably out in the foyer. It has the Kanak flag on it, which makes them identifiable. Sorry, I know you can't see that at the back. But you can see it by the Kanak flag, which is the one up on the screen. But yeah, it's just our way to make sure that we're supporting them over here, from over here, and making sure that they're getting the resources that they need as well. And I think that's all for me.
Thanks, Emma. Thank you very much. We've run, wickedly over time. We could have a very long question and answer session, but we're not going to. What we're going to do is say, come to Camp Sovereignty. If you have questions, if you have things you want to talk about, if you have a need over the next few days, particularly tomorrow and Saturday, there's going to be opportunity to come around the fire and, be in solidarity, if that's what, you're moved to do. Those questions that you have now, will get answered around that fire. I'd also say stay connected to the Free Kanaky Solidarity NAM, stay connected to the Red Ant group, stay connected to Crime Scene Australia, stay connected to Camp Sovereignty. I'm going to take this opportunity to thank you all for coming. Thank you all for putting your hand in your pocket. Those monies will go to the frontline resistance, both here and in Kanaky. And I thought we might end this evening, or get to the end of this evening, with another few tunes. When we met around the fire at the Canberra Tent Embassy, it was around stories of Kevin Buzzacott. For those who don't know, Kevin Buzzacott's one of the fellas that started the kind of tent embassy idea in Canberra. And it was around a very, very funny story about the coat of arms and about them being taken off the wall of Old Parliament House and buried under the fire at the embassy in Canberra. And for anyone who wants to see or hear about that, you can see those things in Daily Motion. If you go to Daily Motion, which is kind of a video site, and put in Radio Rada, a bunch of videos will pop up. And one of them you'll see this fella here telling you a story about the coat of arms and about good old Kevin Buzzacott. Have you got a tune for us? Yeah.
나를 원해 varoi matae ehine hoki maira kamate ahau ki te oh, hurry, hurry home, love. Hurry back to Rotorua. Cross the lake of troubled water to the mountains and the sky. Oh, I know you had to know. Please hurry back home, love. I miss you so. Ehine, hoki maira, kamate ahau, ki te aro hae.
Proving yet again that the best things are utterly unexpected. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. Thank you for being interested. Radio Rada's going to be around Melbourne for a little bit. You'll see us again. You'll see us down at Camp Sovereignty over the next few days. You'll have opportunity, if you make your way down there, to be educated. You'll have an opportunity to be loved. You'll have an opportunity for solidarity. And, you know, it's probably a good idea to take it. We're going to need each other. So thanks for coming. We'll see you next time. Thanks very much.